Hello dear all, this is Sadanand Malik welcomes you all in entire physics, and in today's class we will study about Kronig-Penney model. Actually this model explained the behavior of free electrons within the solid. We know inside the conductor a lot of free electrons are there. So to study about the material having free electrons, then we should know the behavior of those free electron very well. So here in Kronig-Penney model, the behavior of free electron means which type of energy will be allowed for the free electrons and which type of energy will be forbidden. We will study in this topic, and actually Kronig-Penney model overcomes the problems or demerits that was occur in the Sommerfeld free electron model. As we have studied in the Sommerfeld free electron model, that a free electron within the solid is assumed to move in a uniform electric field. Means if we consider, suppose this is a specimen of solid, then inside this specimen if we consider a free electron, then it will experience equal electric force inside the solid. It may present anywhere. So within the solid everywhere equal electric field will be acted upon the free electron. Actually it is not so, because inside the solids atoms are arranged in a regular manner. Just as, let us try to draw the arrangement of atoms within the solid. So suppose this is the specimen of the given solid, and here the atoms are arranged in a regular order. So suppose this is the arrangement of atoms, because here atoms are shown by positive ions, because inside the conductor atoms are positive ions. Now let's discuss about the behavior of free electron when it will move from one ion or one atom to another atom. So it is clear that suppose this is the atom 1, this is the atom 2, this is the atom 3. Now if the electron is very close to the first atom, then obviously it will be attracted by the first atom here, means the electron will experience a lot of attractive force by the atom 1. Now as this electron will move away from the atom 1, then let us try to study the graph of the electric field with the distance. Then suppose this is the force or electric field considered here. Suppose electric field is considered here, and along this direction let us consider the distance. So here suppose this is the distance between two atoms. Now what will happen when the electron was here? So it will experience the maximum electric field here. Suppose this is the maximum electric field E0. Suppose here, suppose it is E0. Now as the electron move away from the atom 1, then what will happen? Here the force of attraction goes to decrease, and when this electron comes at the midpoint of atom 1 and 2, means at this point, then when the electron will present here, then electron will be attracted by atom 1 as well as by the atom 2. That's why here at this point the electron is treated as free. It means that here the electron will not experience any amount of electric force. So here its electric field will become 0. Again when the electron will move towards the atom 2, then what will happen? Actually due to the effect of this atom 2, again the electric field or electric force acted upon the free electron goes to increase, and it will become maximum when the electron reaches to the atom 2. So by this way we have this type of graphs here, because atoms are arranged in regular manner, so we will find this type of graph continuously. So this type of graph we will find here. So from this graph we can say here, from this graph we can say that electron is allowed to move in a periodic potential. Why it is known as periodic potential? Because after a definite distance the same electric field or same potential is repeated. That's why here electron is considered or assumed to move in a periodic potential. So what is the basic difference between Kronig-Penney model and Sommerfeld free electron model is that In Sommerfeld model, let's write this in Sommerfeld model, the electric field is considered as uniform electric field. But in case of Kronig-Penney model, the periodic electric field is considered. And actually it is correct. So here, according to Kronig-Penney model, a free electron within the solid is assumed to move in a periodic electric field. Now let's see what should be the potential energy of free electron inside the solid and how it will vary when it go from one atom to another atom. So let us try to draw the potential energy distance curve. So let us try to draw this. So obviously the potential energy of the free electron will be considered as negative. Why it will be considered as negative? Because inside the solid, work will be done upon the free electron by these atoms. That's why its potential energy will be negative. Now let's see how the potential energy will vary for the free electron. So first of all, let us try to write the potential energy of free electron. So the potential energy of a free electron within the solid may be defined as how we can define? So potential energy U, suppose it is denoted by U, is equal to, we know that the potential energy for the free electron will be due to this positive charge, means the charge of the atom is considered as Ze, where Z is the atomic number, and the charge of electron is considered as E. Because here the charge of electron is negative, so we can write the charge of atom is Ze and the charge of electron is small e, negative, with negative sign. So here we know potential energy is defined as Q1 Q2. It is defined as Q1 Q2 upon x. X is the distance, and here a constant of proportionality, that is considered as 4 pi epsilon naught, epsilon 0. So here obviously we have Q1 as the charge of atom and Q2 as the charge of electron. So Q1 is equals to Ze suppose, and Q2 is equals to minus E. Then we can write the potential energy as U is equal to minus Z E square upon 4 pi epsilon 0 into x. Now here obviously as we vary the value of x, means the distance between the free electron and the regularly arranged atom, as we change the distance between free electron and the regularly arranged atom, then obviously the potential energy will be changed. So here we can write potential energy is a function of position, means x, the distance between free electron and the regularly arranged atoms. Now from this equation we can write obviously Z E square upon 4 pi epsilon 0 is constant. So from this equation we can write Ux is proportional to 1 upon x. Ux is proportional to 1 upon x here. So this is the relation for potential energy with the distance between the free electron and the atom. Suppose this is equation number 1. With the help of this equation 1, we can draw the potential energy distance curve. So here negative sign, because here it is negative sign, this negative sign indicates that the potential energy is of attractive nature, so it may be considered in the negative axis. So suppose x means distance is considered along the x axis, means horizontal axis, and the potential energy is considered along the, suppose in this direction potential energy is considered, suppose it is Ux, and in this direction suppose x is considered by this way, suppose this is the origin point 0. Then what will happen, how we can find the graph here? So if the value of x is, suppose the value of x is equal to 0, means if we put the least value of x, minimum value of x, means suppose it is 0, then 1 upon 0 means it is infinity, and with negative sign it will become negative infinity. It means that when the distance is reduced to 0, then the potential energy will become infinity. Means here when x reduces to 0, then potential energy will become infinity. Similarly, if we keep on increasing the value of x, then when this x will become infinity, then what will happen? 1 upon infinity means 0. Means as we increase the value of this x infinitely large, means the distance between the free electron and the atom is considered as infinity. Means now if the free electron is unaffected by any of the atom, means suppose this is the condition, then what will happen? Let's see here, as the distance between x will become. Now let's discuss about the Kronig-Penney model, and here let's see how the potential energy of free electron varies with the distance between the atom and the free. Suppose when the distance x is 0, then obviously the potential energy will become infinity. Means here we will find the point. So from this equation we can find this type of observation, and if the distance between the free electron and the atom is taken infinity, then the potential energy will become 0. Means here this type of a curve we will find. So it is known as potential energy distance curve. Now this curve is drawn only for a single atom. Suppose the atom is placed here. Now let us try to find this graph for two atoms. Suppose this is the position of second atom. Suppose second atom is here, and now we want to study about the curve for the second atom. Then obviously what will happen? If the free electron comes very close to the second atom, means suppose here when the distance between the second atom and the free electron, is 0, suppose, then which type of arrangement we will find? So here when the distance between the free electron and the atom is 0, it means that the position of electron is here. In this condition, the potential energy of the free electron due to this second atom will be infinity, means point will be here. Similarly, if the distance between the second atom and the free electron will become infinity here, then what will happen? Its potential energy reduces to 0. So here in this case we have got this type of a graph, in this direction and also in the left direction, because here this type of graph we will find. So if we want to find the resultant one, then this type of graph we will find. Suppose the blue color are used to show the resultant curve. So here as the free electron moves from first atom to second atom, now let's see how its potential energy will vary. So here when the electron was very close to the first atom, then its potential energy was infinity, and it is decreases as the separation between the first atom and the free electron increases, and it will become minimum when the distance between the free electron is equal from the atom 1 and atom 2. And now again on increasing the separation from here, then due to the effect of second atom, again the potential energy of free electron goes to increase here, and by this way we have got this type of hyperbolic curves. Similarly, if we consider many number of atoms which are arranged regularly, suppose this is the atom third and thereafter nth atom, then which type of arrangement we will see? So here this type of graph we will see here for third atom. Suppose this is the curve, and this type of curve we will find, and the resultant will become that was drawn by the blue line. Suppose the second atom and third atom, we will have this type of hyperbolic curves. So finally we have this type of hyperbolic curves. Now let us try to draw the potential energy distance. This direction we have considered the distance. So suppose this is the distance axis, and along this direction let us consider the potential energy of the free electron. So here ux and here the distance x is considered. And let us see the arrangement of atoms. Suppose this is the first atom, suppose this is the second atom, suppose this is the third one, and by this way we have, suppose nth atom is here. So suppose 1, 2, 3 and nth atoms are here. Now let us try to draw the curve. Then this type of curve we will find. Let's see from the above figure. With the help of above figure, let us try to draw. So here this type of curve we will find. Between the two successive atoms, this type of hyperbolic curves we will find. This type of curves. Now let's see what this curve will show. So here from this curve it is clear that the first thing is that a free electron is assumed to move in a periodic potential. That is due to the regularly arranged atoms. The second thing is that a free electron is not associated with a particular atom, because when the electron moves from one position to other position, then it will be affected by different atoms. It means that a free electron is always associated with the entire crystal, or entire solid. So this is the second observation. Now let's see how these hyperbolic curves may be converted into the rectangular one. So let us consider the boundary points. So suppose here the black color are used to draw the boundary point. Suppose this is the boundary point or boundary line between the atom 1 and 2. Similarly, this is the boundary point between 2 and 3. Similarly, this is the boundary point for 3 and the next one. So it is clear that if the electron is present at this boundary position, then neither this electron will be affected by atom 1 nor by atom 2. Similarly, if the electron is present in the boundary points, then the electron may be considered as free to move. Means here the electron will not be affected by any of the atoms. But now let's try to draw two lines which is slightly shifted left to the boundary and slightly right to the boundary. That was shown here by red color. So suppose this is a line, then obviously at this line and before this line the free electron is affected by the first atom. Similarly, let us try to draw a line which is shifted right slightly here. Then after this line it is clear that the free electron will be affected by the second atom. And between these two boundaries, means here this is the zone where the electron will not be affected by any of the atoms. Similarly, if we draw a line, then before this line electron will be affected by second atom, and after this line electron will be affected by the third atom. Similarly, if we draw these type of lines, then we can say the entire zone of the crystal may be divided into two type of zones. Suppose let us try to draw two type of zones. Now first of all, which type of zones will be there? Let's see. So here actually the first type of zone, this is the first type of zone where the electron will be affected by any of the atom, and this is the second type of zone where the electron will not be affected by any of the zones. So here the entire region of the solid may be categorized or divided into two types of zone, first zone and second zone. So here this is the zone first and this is the zone second, and obviously a electron is moving in this direction. Then suppose this is the free electron which is moving along this direction, then obviously it will have a wave packet, and for this wave packet always there is a wave function psi. So here if you want to study the behavior of this free electron, then we have to consider the Schrodinger wave equation. And now let's see how this Schrodinger wave equation may be solved here. So actually in this figure, now just we can see that here these blue lines are showing, these blue lines are used to show the hyperbolic curve, and these red lines are used to show the rectangular curve, and these hyperbolic curves may be explained by the rectangular curve, because here we have proved that these hyperbolic curves gives the same explanation that is given by these rectangular curves. So now let's see, here we are going to erase the hyperbolic curve, means now here we will consider only the rectangular curves to explain the behavior of free electron. So let's try to erase these hyperbolic curves. Now we have these type of zones. Now let's see which type of effect will be there. So in this case, actually if the electron is moving in such type of a zone, then first of all let's define something, because here electron is moving over the first zone and second zone, then obviously Schrodinger wave equation may be written for first zone and second zone. So here let's see what is the meaning of Schrodinger wave equation. So we know we have Schrodinger wave equation. So here we know Schrodinger wave equation as d square psi upon dx square plus 2m upon h cross square E minus v psi is equal to 0, where psi is the wave function of the particle, means here wave function of the electron. Similarly m is the mass of particle, and here the particle is electron, so mass of electron, and its value we know 9.1 into 10 raised to power minus 31 kg. And h cross means h upon 2 pi, where h is Planck's constant and its value is 6.6 into 10 raised to power minus 34 joule into second. And capital E is the total energy of the particle, means total energy of the electron, which we have to find here, total energy of electron. And v is the potential energy here, and v is the potential energy of the electron. And we know that this potential energy depends on the force which is acted on the free electron. Now let's see in first region and in second region which type of force will be acted upon the free electron. So here if we are discussing about the first zone, then obviously in this zone the free electron is affected by first atom, means here the force will be applied to the free electron by this atom. It means that there is some force, and due to the existence of this force the potential energy will be there. So suppose at the first zone, in the first zone the potential energy is given by V naught. Similarly in the second zone it is clear that the free electron is totally free, means here in the second zone the electron will not be affected by any of the atoms. It means that no force will be acted on the free electron. It means that in the second zone the potential energy will become 0. So here we have concluded that in the first zone potential energy is suppose V naught, and in the second region suppose it is 0. Then let us try to write the Schrodinger wave equation for first zone and second zone. So here in first zone Schrodinger wave equation may be written as d square psi upon dx square plus 2m upon h cross square E minus, because potential energy is considered as V naught, so here E minus V naught psi is equal to 0. Suppose equation number 2. Similarly, in the second zone or second region, we can write Schrodinger wave equation as ds square psi upon dx square plus 2m upon h cross square E, because here V is equal to 0 in the second region, potential energy V is equal to 0. So here we have to write only 2m E upon h cross square psi is equal to 0. Suppose equation number 3. Now obviously equation second is for the first zone and equation third is for the second zone, and obviously if we solve equation 2 and 3, then we will find the value of psi. We will find the value of psi on solving equation 2 and 3. And now if we solve equation 2 and 3 by using the boundary condition, now let's see what is the boundary condition here. So suppose this is the point, suppose 0, and up to here the point is A, and this point is suppose A plus B. It means that the separation of the width of the first type of zone is small a and the width of second type of zone is small b. So by this way, by using boundary condition here, the boundary condition is first boundary we have at x equals to a and the second boundary is at x equals to a plus b. So by using this boundary condition at x equals to a and at x equals to a plus b, we can solve this equation 2 and 3. So here let us solve. Here let us apply the boundary condition. So by using the boundary conditions, that is x equals to a and x equals to a plus b, we get the solution of equation 2 and 3 as which type of solution we have. So actually from equation 2 we will get the value of psi, and from equation 3 also we will find the value of psi, and this psi x and this psi x will be equal at this boundaries, suppose x equals to a and x equals to b. So here we can equate psi x at x equals to a and psi x at x equals to a plus b. Then we have this type of solution. So here m v0 b upon h cross square alpha into sine alpha a upon alpha a plus cos alpha a is equal to cos ka. This type of solution we will find, suppose equation number 4. Because we are using this solution directly, actually this solution is derived from the mathematical method, means here because equation 2 and 3 are the standard form of second order differential equation, that's why here we can use the mathematical process, and on solving we have got this type of solution. And now first of all let's define, because we are using directly this solution, so here we have to define something. So actually in this equation the value of k, here this k, where k is equals to n pi by a, this is the first thing, and where alpha, this alpha, and this alpha is equals to under root of 2me upon h cross square. This is the value of alpha. Suppose equation number 5. It means that in this equation 5 it is clear that because 2m upon h cross square is constant, so we can say alpha is proportional to under root of e. It means that if we discuss about the value of alpha, then it means that we are discussing about the energy. So it is very important to remember that if in any place suppose alpha is written, it means that actually energy existed there. So here now let's solve this equation. by graphical method. So to solve this equation by graphical method, first of all let's modify it. So here suppose in this equation let's substitute the value of k here, and the value of k means here the value of k we can write from here, and it is n pi upon a. Similarly here in left hand side let us multiply a at the numerator and a at the denominator. So this a and these a are multiplied in this equation. So here by doing this we have got this type of new rearranged equation. So here we have mv0 ab upon h cross square, and now here this alpha a may be written as here, so we can, so here it may be sin alpha a upon alpha a plus cos alpha a is equals to, now substitute the value of k, then this a and this a will be cancelled out, we have only cos n pi. So here cos n pi we have. So obviously suppose it is a constant and suppose its value is, so let mv0 ab upon h cross square is considered as a quantity p, and obviously substituting this value we have p sin alpha a upon alpha a plus cos alpha a is equals to cos n pi, and we know the value of cos n pi is either 1 or minus 1. So suppose this is the final equation, we have to solve this equation by graphical method. Suppose equation number 6. So now let us try to solve this by graphical method. Solve equation 6 by using graphical method. Now let us solve this equation by graphical method. So here actually in the right hand side we have only two values, that is either plus 1 or minus 1. So here right hand side will give a boundary. Now in left hand side let's discuss. So here actually alpha a, as we change the value of alpha a, the value of sin alpha a and sin and cos term means both the terms will be changed here. So if we want to draw the graph for left hand side and right hand side, then here alpha a should be considered in the horizontal axis, because with respect to this alpha a the entire left hand side will vary. So here let us draw a horizontal axis. Suppose this is the horizontal axis, and here in along this axis let us consider the value of alpha a, and obviously the value of alpha a means it plays the role of theta here, it plays the role of theta here. So the value of theta may be positive or negative. Similarly here the alpha a plays the role of theta, so the value of theta may be positive or negative. So let's scaling here. So in the graph, first of all the value of alpha a may be 0. So suppose this is the midpoint 0, and suppose this is pi, and suppose this is 2 pi, and this is 3 pi. So these are the values of alpha a. Similarly it may have the negative value minus pi, minus 2 pi and minus 3 pi. So here minus pi, minus 2 pi, minus 3 pi suppose. So these are the scaling of horizontal axis or alpha a axis. Similarly in the left hand side if we change the value of alpha a, then cos alpha a and sin alpha a will vary. So here let us consider this left hand side in the y axis. So because the value of cos alpha a may be positive or negative, similarly the value of sin alpha a may be positive or negative, so the value of entire left hand side may be either positive or negative. So here we have to consider the y axis, means vertical axis, that is considered in the positive direction as well as in the negative direction, because both types of values are allowed there. So actually let's see which type of value we will find. So here in case of cos alpha a we will get its maximum value is plus 1. Similarly, for sine alpha a, its maximum value is again plus 1, and the value of p, because here p is a constant, so its value may be either 1, 0, 1, 2, 3 up to very large value, but it is constant. So here the value of p may be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to this. So we may consider any type of value. So here the value of p may be suppose 1, 2, 3, any integer value. It means that here the left hand side may have the value from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this, and between them all the values are also possible, like 1 by 2, 3 by 2, like this. These values are possible. So let's scaling here the vertical axis here. So suppose this is suppose 1, this is suppose 2, and similarly this is suppose 3. Similarly, in the negative y-axis, suppose this is minus 1, suppose this is minus 2. So by this way we have the values. So suppose here this is plus 1, here 2 and 3, and here minus 1, minus 2, etc. Similarly here, because in the vertical axis we have considered left hand side, it means that we have considered here p sine alpha a upon alpha a plus cos alpha a has been considered here. So it means that on changing the value of alpha a, we have to find the value of left hand side, means this. So here first let us consider the first value when the alpha a is equal to 0. Suppose when the alpha a is equals to 0, means this value we are going to consider. At this value let us try to find the value of this left hand side. So here to find the value, first of all let us suppose the value of p here. So suppose here in this case let p equals to, we have considered p equals to 3 or p equals to 2. Suppose we have considered p equals to 2, then we have p equals to 2 into. Now if we consider alpha is equals to 0, then sine alpha upon cos alpha will become 1, because the limit will be applied there. If we consider alpha equals to 0, then it will be limit alpha tends to 0 and its value will become 1. So here 1 plus cos 0 means again 1, and its value finally we have 2 into 1 plus 1 means 3. So here when alpha is equal to 0, then we have got this left hand side equals to 3, means this point is here. Similarly, if we consider alpha is equals to pi, the next value is pi. So here if we consider alpha is equals to pi, then which type of value we will find? Let's see. So here in case of this, if alpha is pi, then cos pi, and here sin pi upon pi into p, and obviously cos pi is equals to minus 1 and sin pi is equal to 0 upon non-zero. It means that this first term will become 0. So here the final value is minus 1. So here when the value of alpha is equals to minus pi, then we have got the point at minus 1. So the next point is here. Similarly for 2 pi, for this 2 pi let us try to find for this 2 pi which type of value we will find. Let's see. So here in this equation, if we put cos 2 pi, then cos 2 pi is equals to plus 1 plus sin 2 pi is equals to 0 into p means 0. So here we have got finally plus 1. So here when the value of alpha is equals to 2 pi, then we have the value of left hand side means p sin alpha is equals to plus 1. Similarly for 3 pi, again it is minus 1. So here we have got the point here. So these type of points we will find. Now let's see for the left hand side which type of value we will find. So first of all we have to clear something here. Actually cos theta is equals to cos minus theta, means if cos minus theta, then it may be written as cos theta. Similarly if sin minus theta, then it may be minus sin theta. So here by using this concept, let us try to find the value. So here in the left hand side, when the value of alpha is equals to pi minus pi, then here cos minus pi means we can write cos pi plus sin minus pi means minus sin pi upon pi into p, and finally we have got sin pi means 0. So first term will become 0 plus cos pi means minus 1. It means that the final value of left hand side is minus 1. So here we have got the point at minus 1. Similarly, for minus 2 pi, let's see, for minus 2 pi, here cos minus 2 pi will become cos 2 pi, and here sin 2 pi again becomes 0, and here cos 2 pi is plus 1. It means that we have got the point for minus 2 pi is at plus 1. So here we will have the point. Similarly, for 3 pi, again it is minus 1. So here we have got the point here. So these type of points we will find. Now to draw the graph, first of all let's see the boundary, means right hand side, the condition of right hand side. So obviously this right hand side will give the boundary because its maximum value is plus 1 and minimum value is minus 1. So here we have got the values of right hand side as either plus 1, means here we have got a line at there. Suppose it is used to show the blue line. This is the boundaries that is given by right hand side. Similarly, here the second boundary will be minus 1. So this is the second boundary. Means from right hand side we have got this type of boundaries. It means that, let's see, this is the boundary for cos n pi. Now let us see the graph for this left hand side. So now here to draw this point, to connect this point, actually we have to follow the symmetry. And now let's see what is the meaning of symmetry here. So first of all, let's see the meaning of symmetry by using the example of a glass of water. So here suppose we have a glass, we are going to draw the symmetry. So actually this is the first figure. Suppose this is the first figure. Here a glass is shown, and now let us consider the second one. Suppose this is the second figure of a glass. So actually if we consider both of this figure, then we have to find out the symmetry here. So here we will find the reflection symmetry or mirror symmetry. So here we have drawn a line. Then obviously the angle between the surfaces of glass, means this angle is equal to the next surface. So here a mirror symmetry is present here. But in this case, if we draw such type of a line, then the angle formed by this surface, suppose it is theta 1, and the angle formed by this surface, suppose it is theta 2. So here actually theta 1 is greater than theta 2, means here it will not follow the symmetry. It doesn't follow the symmetry here. So actually we have to use this type of mirror symmetry to draw the graph here. So let's see how we can use this concept. So actually in this figure, let us try to draw the graph. So we are using the purple color here. So suppose this is the first point, and this is the first point, this is the second point. We have to connect them. So let us try to do this. So this is the connection. Now we have to draw the next line, means here we have to connect this next point to the previous one. We have to draw a line but following the symmetry. So here we have to follow this type of symmetry. It will connect here. Similarly, for the next point, suppose this is the next point, to connect this, let us again following the symmetry here. So this is the next line. This is the next line. By following this, we can draw such type of lines. Similarly, in the left hand side, let us try to draw. Similarly, by this way, by following the symmetry, we can draw such type of curves. But now these curves are not completed. So here we have to connect them by freehand. So let us try to connect them by freehand. So here, by this way, we can connect them. So this is the complete explanation of this figure, means figure has been completed. Now let's see, suppose actually this is the curve for left hand side and this is the curve for right hand side. Now actually we have to find those portion of this left hand side which will come under the boundary of this right hand side. So here let's see how we can find. So here if we see, then from this position, we are using the next color, suppose green color are used here. So if we consider the curve for left hand side, means suppose here, from here if we consider, then up to this point, the curve is outside the boundary, but from here it will come inside the boundary. So let's try to draw the blue color. So up to here it is inside the boundary. Similarly, again it is inside the boundary. Again this portion is inside the boundary. So let us try to draw those portion of left hand side curve which comes under the boundary of right hand side. So these are the lines. And now let's use the black color to show those curves which are outside the boundary of right hand side. So here this portion of the curve is outside the boundary. Black lines to dark them. Similarly, this portion of this curve again comes outside to the boundary. So here again we are using the black lines. Similarly, this portion comes outside this, then it is blackened. Similarly, it is again then blackened. So here we can find this type of arrangement. Now let's discuss about the common portion of left hand side and right hand side. So which type of observation we will find? So let us try to use the red color for here. So we can see that from this point to this point the curve is inside the boundary. Now let's see, this curve covers which distance in the alpha a axis. This is the alpha axis, means here as we have seen that alpha is related to under root of energy. It means that if we are discussing about the alpha axis, means actually it is the energy axis, not alpha axis, energy axis. So now let's see which portion of energy axis will be covered by this line. So here let us try to draw two vertical lines. Suppose this is the first vertical line and this is the second vertical line. It means that from this position to this position, which is redded here, up to from here, this is the common portion, means here this energy value is common to both sides, left hand side and right hand side. Similarly, from here to here, again this portion of energy is common to both for left hand side and right hand side. Similarly, this portion is common to both for left hand side and right hand side. Similarly, here we can find in the left hand side also. In this case we can find it. Now let's see which type of observation is here. So actually from this figure it is clear that because this portion of energy, means this energy range is common to both, means common to the left hand side curve and the right hand side curve, means this portion of energy satisfied both side of this equation. Both side of this equation means left hand side and the right hand side will be satisfied by these values of energy. It means that this is the allowed energy. This is the allowed energy. And because this portion which is blacked here, this portion is not, this energy is not common to both, means this portion of energy will not satisfy both side of this equation. It means that this portion of energy is not common to both, that's why it is known as forbidden energy. And because there is a energy range means there is some various values of energy, so it is known as energy band. Similarly here allowed energy band. So from this figure it is clear that this is the allowed energy band, this is the forbidden energy band, this is the allowed energy band, this is the forbidden energy band, this is allowed, this is forbidden. It means that if a free electron is moving inside the solid, then its energy is not continuous, but there is some allowed energy which are separated by the forbidden energy. So on the basis of this figure, let's give some conclusion. Now let's see the conclusions which we have from this graph. So actually from this graph, the first conclusion is that because here this is the allowed energy band, this is the forbidden, again allowed, again forbidden, again allowed, and then will again forbidden. It means that allowed, forbidden, allowed, forbidden, allowed, forbidden. It means that if the electron is inside the solid, then its energy is not continuous. Means first observation, the energy of a free electron within the solid is not continuous, but there are some allowed energy bands which are separated by forbidden energy bands. Forbidden energy bands. This is the first observation. Now let's see the second one. So obviously in the second reason, as we increase the value of alpha A, means here as we increase the value of alpha A from 0 to above, then we will find that the width of, suppose this is the first allowed energy band A1, this is the second allowed energy band A2, and this is the third allowed energy band, suppose A3. So here as we see, then we will find A1, A2 and A3, in which the width of A1, A2, A3 is found in ascending order. It means that the width of A3 is greater than A2 and the width of A2 is greater than A1. It means that as we increase the value of alpha A, the width of allowed energy band goes to increase. So here second observation, as alpha A increases, the width of allowed energy bands also increases. So this is the second observation. Now let's see the third observation. So actually to study about the third observation, we have to consider the least value of P and the maximum value of P. So in this observation, let's see how we can find the maximum and least values of P. So here let's see how we can find the next observation. So here if we consider the least value of P, least value of P means because the value of P may be in form of numbers, just as because we know if we solve this quantity, then with respect to this A and B, the value of A and B will decide the value of P. So here if we consider, suppose P equals to 0, this is the least value, and if in this equation if P equal to 0, it means that if in this equation we put P equals to 0, then into something means here this will be 0 plus only cos phi will exist here, means cos alpha will give the value. So here if we consider the minimum value of alpha, that is 0. If alpha is equal to 0, it means that cos alpha means plus 1, and here sin alpha upon alpha means sin 0 upon 0 plus 1, but it will become 0. So here we have only plus 1. So finally this point will be shifted from 3 to 1, means now the point is at 1. And now let's see the next points. So how we can find the next points, let's see. So here in this case, if we consider the next point, that is suppose alpha is equals to pi, then cos pi is equals to minus 1 plus here sin pi will be equals to 0 and here 0. So here again the next point is at minus 1, means the next point will be found at minus 1, means at this position, means at the previous one, as the previous one here. Similarly for 2 pi, again for 2 pi cos 2 pi is plus 1 and sin 2 pi again 0, means next point will be again here. So it means that if we put P equal to 0, if we put P equal to 0, then we have this type of points. Now let us try to draw these points by using the symmetry here. So here actually we have to connect directly the points by this way. suppose we are using the yellow color, so we can connect all the points directly. By this way we have got the curve. This yellow color will give the resultant curve now. Now let's see this curve which is drawn by yellow color. Now it is the curve for left hand side, and now it is seen that now this curve, this yellow curve, totally comes under the boundary of right hand side. Means here in this boundary this curve will comes. It means that now all the energies are allowed. Means this curve overlaps or covers all the energies here. It means that all these energy values are allowed to the free electron. It means that if P equal to 0, if we consider P equal to 0, then the electron will have continuous energy value. So the third observation is that, if P equal to 0, comma, the free electron will have continuous energy value. Continuous energy value. So here this is the third observation. Now let's see the fourth observation. So here actually in the fourth observation, if we consider P is infinitely large, means if we consider, suppose here, suppose P is nearly equals to infinity, means infinitely large. Actually not is, it is equal to infinity, but infinitely large. Now let's see what will happen for in this case. So in this case let's see what will happen. So here if P equals to infinitely large, so keep here infinity. Now let us consider the least value of alpha A, that is 0. So cos alpha A means it will be plus 1, and sin alpha A, so it will be again plus 1. So here we have infinity into 1 means infinity, plus 1 means the final value is infinity. So here actually this point which was at point 3, it will be shifted to the infinity here. Similarly, now let's try to find the next point. So here if we put the next value of alpha A, that is pi. So here if we put pi, then cos pi minus 1 and sin pi 0 into infinitely large. Actually P is not infinity but infinitely large, so it will become 0. 0 minus 1 means final value is minus 1. So next point is here. Similarly next point is here. Similarly next point is here. So we will have this type of points. Only the point is that was at point 3, it will be shifted to the infinity. Now let's try to find the curve. So here actually we have to connect this first point that is at infinity to the second point that is at pi. So how we can do it? So here by drawing a line which is vertically upward, means which is parallel to the y-axis. Suppose this is y-axis, it should be parallel to the y-axis, then it will intersect to the y-axis at infinity. So here actually this will be the curve for the left hand side, means here it will be the curve for P sin alpha A upon alpha A plus cos alpha A. It means that now this curve will come under the boundary of second right hand side, means this boundaries. Let's see the portion. So here this portion will come, that is given by suppose green color. So this portion of this line comes under the boundary of cos n pi. So let's see which portion of energy axis will be covered by this line. So here actually a single value of energy will be covered here. Single value of energy will be covered here. It means that if the value of P is considered infinitely large, it means that if P is infinitely large, comma, then a free electron will have a single energy value. So this was the observation or conclusion of chronic penny model. So thank you to all of you.